was my bad.
I usually get like places, cameras rolling.
We're not rolling yet.
We're good.
Ready now? Mm-hmm. All right, it's 6 p.m. We'll call this regular village board meeting to order. Over the last few weeks, the community suffered some losses. We all obviously send our thoughts and condolences out, not only to the family of Trent Bernard, the GIS student, fifth grader, but also to Annie Prater, who's one of our dispatchers here at the village, who lost her father. Van Prater passed away this past weekend. So in their honor, would you all join me in a moment of silence? And the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, you have the roll.
Trustee Mann.
Present.
Trustee Gerger.
Present.
Trustee Charo.
Present.
Trustee Detmers.
Here.
Trustee Mal.
Here.
Trustee Churchill.
Present.
Village President Kimsey.
Present. Any public announcements this evening? Just announcements.
Chatham American Legion fish fries start February the 28th will be the first one.
Times 5 or 6?
5 to 7:30.
5 to 7:30.
We offer takeout.
Excellent.
February what?
February 28th. How many weeks? For the 6 weeks up to Good
Pat, can
Friday.
you hear me then?
Yeah.
Okay, public comments specifically on agenda topics. I know we have a couple people that signed up to speak regarding a dog park. That will be at the end of the meeting. The first section on public comments, any public comments specific to items on our agenda this evening. Hearing none, entertain a motion, put the consent agenda on the table.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mao has made a motion of a second.
Second.
Trustee Charles, is a second.
I need to make an amendment to the warrants.
Okay,
I'd like the warrant for co-equipment removed this evening.
COE co-equipment is on page, it's on the second page too. Total, the whole thing, 2,057.79.
Yes.
I'll make my motion as amended.
Do we have a second on the amendment? Any further discussion?
Yeah, just I noticed Massey and Massey with respect to the parks plan. I think we are going to have him present. Is that right? To this board?
Yes. I needed to know whether you're ready for him to present the final or whether you want question and answer.
I've read it many times, provided my input a few times with Dustin's help. I don't know if we want to issue ourselves a deadline in which you can review it and respond. I'm ready.
Question was, since a lot of this went through the Parks Committee, have they issued a recommendation to?
Yes, the Public Properties Commission wishes to present that as is.
Well, let's put that on the committee agenda and have him present it, along with the Park Committee's
For
recommendation.
the committee of the whole next time?
Sure, I think discussion would be helpful.
So we'll have him do a presentation then as if it was a final, and then we would not vote to accept that till after the following meeting. All right.
And I urge those of us on the board that haven't had a chance to look at it, please do. There's a lot of suggested changes in there, and I think we should try to use it as a path forward, get some structure.
Okay.
Thanks.
Without veering too far off of what we're actually talking about. Do we have any other discussion regarding the board meeting minutes or the warrant resolution? Okay, we have a motion on the table to amend the warrants to remove the co-equipment invoice. We do that by voice. Or do you want a roll call? Can we have a roll call on the amendment?
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Mal.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes, that's been struck. Any further discussion regarding the warrants or the resolutions? Okay, Madam Clerk, as amended.
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmer.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Old business, item 1 is an ordinance renewing the engagement contract with Sikich LLP for audit services for the Village of Chatham, and a motion to bring this to the table.
Make that motion.
Trustee Mao has made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Gerger. As discussion opened 2 weeks ago, what you have in front of here is a recommendation from the professional staff of the village, the award-winning financial department that we have here, to retain the current auditors for 3 additional years. And Sherry had provided, again with the information, the GFOA's best practices, as well as, I think last 2 weeks ago when I was out sick, she explained the succession planning and strategic reasoning behind her recommendation. So that's the recommendation that is before you. Any further discussion?
My only concern would be, so Sherry leaves prior to this contract being up, and then we have a new CFO, whoever that may be, and they're going to have to do a procurement a year in with no help. And I know how these,
It'd actually be almost 2 years after Sherry left.
after she retires,
Before that, because Sherry's announced her retirement is November of 2021.
so then,
So this year, they will audit the 20 statements.
Right.
With the report that you'll see around December-ish, end of this year, calendar 20. Then they'll issue another 21 at the end of it.
and just from my perspective and going through procurements, they're not good. It's messy, it's hard to get through. So my thought process was that why wouldn't we go out to bid now for 5 years and match the GFOA's recommendations? And you'll have at least two people going through that procurement. And Sherry has been through one before. She would know what questions to ask. If we get the new person, they may not know what to ask and what they need and all of that kind of stuff. That's my thought process. It's nothing against Sikich. I know they're a very good firm. It's nothing against Sherry's recommendation. It's just that me being a new employee, a new CFO, I wouldn't want to go through a procurement without having gone through it with somebody before. And then the other thing I would also bring up is if their recommendation is 5, we're going to put it at 6. Why wouldn't we do a 2-year contract?
The actual wording in the GFOA best practices is at least 5 years.
Right.
It's not 5 hard and fast, it's at least 5 years.
Right.
So 6 is at least 5.
Sure. But I know you do 5 because you want to spread out those startup costs, and we're doing 3. But Sikich shouldn't have any startup costs because they already have.
I did find it interesting that even the updated proposal that they gave for the next 3 years is still a lower total cost than the runner-up
Previous.
was 3 years ago when we bid this thing.
Right.
Well, I was looking at the GFOA's best practices, and I know under the bullet point where it says you should do 5 years for startup costs and continuity, the next it says governmental entities should undertake a full-scale competitive process for the selection of independent auditors at the end of the term of each audit contract. So I know they suggest 5 years, but they also say at the end of any contract, you should also do a competitive bid process. Well, and I know in respect why we would want to have that continuity too, with all the reasons stated, it may not hurt to do a competitive bid process.
Have any further discussion?
Just clarification on who the auditors have been in the past. Sikich has had the last 3 years, and Estes, Bridgewater, and Ogden had the 3 years prior to that. So there has been a break between, 20 years of Sikich.
Yeah,
It has been broken up.
I appreciate the staff providing that information today. But I know Sikich has been 9 of the last 12 years, and if you go back before them, I don't know how much Sikich has been. Also, the auditors for the village, so sometimes new eyes. So while there was a break, but 9 of the last 12 was Sikich, it may not hurt at least to see a competitive bid.
And you did see how many firms we notified and asked to bid. and you saw how many replied.
Right.
Right. Well, and you may get more replies though, because typically you're supposed to not include the firm that has it. So you're supposed to, exempt them from being able to bid. If we went out for bid last time and they weren't exempt, they're going to look at our history and saw we've had them for 20 years. Why bid?
Now, in the
Or
state
whatever
of,
it may be.
in the state of Illinois has it, it's a 6-year contract, but then whoever has that 6-year
Can't
cannot bid for the next 6 years. But after that 6 years, they can bid again. So they have it offset.
Correct.
So that you switch back and forth.
Most of a substantially different pool of potential.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we're fortunate we're right next to Springfield, so you have, pretty number. I know that there was only a couple of the last time, but
Surprisingly fewer than you would expect.
yeah.
Okay, further discussion? On the motion, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann,
Yes.
Trustee Gerger,
No.
Trustee Charo,
Yes.
Trustee Detmer.
Yes.
Trustee Mao,
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
No. All right, 4-2. Item 2 is an update to customer service manual. This is going to continue to remain as old business. Based on the discussion from 2 weeks ago and clarification, staff has updated some of the language that you guys were discussing 2 weeks ago. That's been up there. Pat's running. He obviously has a copy of something that he intended to give you.
The part that we discussed last time about when we're going to do a shut-off. We've reworded that. All charges are deemed delinquent after the due date and can be disconnected 15 days after the due date. Service will be interrupted until all delinquent amounts are paid in full. Services are interrupted due to delinquency will only be reconnected during normal work business hours after payment is received in full. So what that allows us to do is, it's Friday, we won't shut off. Saturday or Sunday, we won't shut off. It's a holiday, we won't shut off. We'll wait till the beginning of the next month to do that shut off. But we've given the notice that it's 15 days afterwards. It may end up being longer than 15 days, but it will not be shorter than 15.
At least 15?
Yep. So that way it's covered. So that has been fixed in the synopsis and also in the manual.
I still believe that we need to notify our customers that we're going to shut them off. I stand by that, and that I think that the technology exists today that we could send somebody a text message at 8 in the morning, say, today's the day we're going to get cut. You have until 4 p.m. Central Time to pay. And if they don't, well, then they get cut.
I agree with Trustee Detmer. As I said 2 weeks ago, that, with the 311 system, I know it may be difficult with large amounts of shut-off letters, but even if we could get those out by noon, as you had discussed, a lot of those 300 letters turn into really 12 or 15 or a lot fewer than 300. If we could send that about noon or even whatever time, just to give our office time to make sure that those are the few numbers that are getting shut off and those that are actually getting shut off enough time to where they could pay during the day, so whether it be over a break or lunch, and that way when they do get home, they have power, they don't have any issues when they get home, and things are normal.
All right, so we give some thought to that. I think to the extent, especially with new customers, we got a better advantage of, as they're signing up, and also enrolled in the notification system. Some of it, if you're trying to send text messages, people have to opt in, give you a cell phone number, get all that. So you can't go backwards without that information for that. But good commentary, I think. Like I said, no action tonight. That's just a notice to you guys.
That is a good point of using the 311 system to notify, and we just notify everybody that if you have not paid your utility bill by this date, you're
I don't
going
know
to be
that we
shut
want.
off.
I don't know that we want to be sending that message to everybody.
But that's the
To
only
the-
way that we can do it right now.
to the extent we can
Not
target-
everybody's numbers.
But we got,
I think
we got
we-
some ideas and some discussion points here. Chairman Gerger, will you put this on the utility committee's agenda?
Yeah.
Also have them review, prior to your meeting, and another opportunity to give commentary on it and, a recommendation on it, the utility committee as well.
Yep. Pat, can you put that on, and then can you email the document to all the members? Thank you, sir.
That document is on Board Docs right now.
Okay.
If you go to Board Docs, you'll be able to see it there, and I'll just move that document directly over to your committee of the whole and add it on there, okay? That's
Then you'll see it
2 weeks from Monday.
Yeah, it's a day before.
at the committee level here
Yeah.
before
Right.
anything is. Okay. New business. Can I have a motion to bring to the table the ordinance transferring appropriations between line items for the fiscal year ending April 30, 2020?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Charles made a motion to have a second.
I'll second.
Trustee Mao has seconded. No changes from what was discussed 2 weeks ago, correct? All line appropriation, the transfers are within similar funds between lines, so you have a net zero effect on it. It's just line to line. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmer.
Yes.
Trustee Mel.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Item 2, in reviewing the calendar, we realized the March 24th village board meeting is right in the middle of the school's spring break. And by my count, 7 of the 8 of us that are elected here have children in the school, and I know we will be gone. So we put on here, if you want to entertain a motion to move that meeting on the 24th, I don't know what everybody else's schedule is starting to look like, but the following Tuesday, which would have been the 5th Tuesday of the month, where we wouldn't have had a meeting anyway, so still in the same month. We were going to have a 3-week gap between meetings at some point in that thing, so.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Scherschel has made a motion.
I'll
Second. Any other discussion? You good? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, ayes have it. So we'll move the March 24th meeting to same time on March 31st. Now, public comments on village business. Mr. Hupp. If you would.
Apologize if I'm a little hoarse. I've been fighting a cold most of this week, so I've got a scratchy throat. So I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Terry Hupp, and I live on Oxford here in Chatham. And I wanted to really address some concerns I've got with the potential for the proposed dog park in Chatham to move to the west side location. That would place this proposed development very close to our backyard and very close to the backyards, others on Oxford and also on Churchill. So I'm sure the thought on this might have been related to moving it further east because I know there is a lot of flooding in the park, on the west side of it. But unfortunately, I think that also pushes it closer to residences at this. So I had also sent an email late last week to Mr. Kimsey. I also copied Mr. Detmers on it and also Dustin on it, just to really voice some of my concerns. I have a concern with, additional noise and the mess associated, with a larger dog population within the park. I'm afraid, down the line, if it does turn out to be a property that causes issues, this could potentially also affect property values in the future. As well-behaved as everybody thinks their dogs are, I think that, the basic nature of a dog is they bark when there's other dogs present. And I think when you've got a larger dog population within the park, it's going to cause barking within the park. And then it's also going to, probably the neighborhood dogs are going to bark as well. I know that Springfield had addressed some similar concerns when residents had voiced concerns similar to this when it was going to be built near them, and they, I think, backed off of their plan. And I think that they have probably chosen the locations that they did for their dog parks and dog runs were Stewart Park and Centennial Park. And these are far. They're a little bit more remote. They're not immediately, within neighborhoods. And it gives the dogs a chance to run. There's open spaces. And it also, they're not really that near enough of the properties around them that it could, potentially cause problems there. So really what I'm asking for, from the board. I know you've got a lot of decisions coming up, but, to really give some consideration for, maybe a more appropriate location than this. Wouldn't Community Park maybe be a better fit? I know there's already a lot of activity within Community Park, but that's probably for a good reason. It's popular, you have large open spaces, and you have parts of that park which aren't immediately bordered by homes. So I would hope that maybe there might be some land available to annex that could potentially be used for recreational purposes. And you would know better than me, but maybe there's some other area, some other land within town that could also be annexed and could be used for recreational purposes rather than putting it in West Side Park. You could probably Google, if you want, like I did, living near a dog park. That kind of shows you some of the concerns that, across the country, what other communities have fought and what other communities have addressed sometimes after the fact, after they put it in, and neighbors have had issues with noise and other things similar to what I'm voicing here. I really just wanted to, I guess, also state that I'm not anti-dog, and I'm not anti-dog park. But really, I know you've got a lot coming, on your plate in the next few weeks. You're trying to decide your priorities, and you're trying to look through your budget, and you're trying to get appropriations probably. But as you do that, I want you to kind of put yourself in the shoes of the residents in the neighborhoods that are under this proposal. And, as you do this, please make a decision that's good for the community as whole, but also doesn't negatively impact the neighborhood that would be near the site that you choose. So I thank you for your comments and your consideration.
Right. Thanks, sir. And Mr. Fafoglia.
President Kimsey and trustee, excuse me, I've got a worse voice than he has. Anyway, I just simply want to second his comments and that hopefully, that the parameters are well thought out and that we're aware of them, hopefully before the final vote is taken. And I'm sure you will, because there is a lot of work behind this kind of project. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Both of you get well, but we appreciate your comments and you taking the time to come down and speak with us tonight. Any additional public comments this evening? Hearing none, the scheduled meeting says Utility Oversight Committee at 6 p.m. on February 10th. Village Board will meet at 6 p.m. February 11th, followed by the Committee of the Whole at 6:15 or thereafter. We have no need for closed session. No other business, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mao has made a motion, second by Trustee Charo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all.
Hey, Dave. Look at their names.